Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back for another episode of Chicago Hockey Radio. I am here with Tassos Kirkos and on Zoom, Justin Lynch. We are
Howdy.
back on this beautiful Friday, day 2 of Blackhawks training camp. Decent amount of stuff to talk about around the league, as well as Blackhawks training camp topics. Tassos, you want to get us started?
Yeah. Happy to have you in studio. Only one person on Zoom, and it'll be the guy that'll be on Zoom majority of the time here, which is Justin. But it's cool having you here, man. That's exciting.
Feels bad, man.
Yeah. I also lied to the people on my show this morning saying that we would be live, but this is not live, as we will be posting this in a little bit. But we're going to do some live stuff eventually, especially with our post-game shows. But we're gonna record this and give ourselves a chance to make this as cool as possible and look good and be able to clip and all that stuff. So thank you to anybody joining us. Thanks.
And
Killed that intro too, Lee.
Stop it. No, but we think that for some of these episodes, it's going to be better to just record and get all of the technical stuff down to a T, and then eventually in a month or two, once the regular season's going and we're kicked off, we'll probably turn these into live things. And we were talking about maybe doing the Monday episodes live still.
Yeah.
But just for clipping and kind of getting a bunch of episodes under our belt, I think is the focus right now.
Yeah, should mention also just subscribe to the Chicago Hockey Radio YouTube channel if you're listening to this. And also, head over to Alithio to check out our other hockey shows and, some of our music stuff and our other podcasts, right? But subscribe to this so that way we could do more live stuff in the future. Justin, we are going to throw it over to you and ask about some Blackhawks training camp stuff, though. But we have to get Lee's opinion on Nick Foligno as captain and pick it up where we left off on Wednesday a little bit since he wasn't here. We couldn't get his thoughts.
Yeah, so I watched most of your guys' episode back. And I'd say my opinion is pretty much exactly what Justin's had to say, unfortunately. I wish I could disagree. But listen, I think that it was probably always going to be Nick Foligno. I think Kyle Davidson likes him a lot. It makes sense. It's less pressure on Bedard. As you said in the last episode, I think that he would play the role of captain regardless if he had the C or not. But look, it's Bedard's team. It's one less thing that he has to worry about, though, less pressure.
Focus on the hockey.
You got the next 2 years on your entry-level deal. Just go play the game. Don't worry about being a leader. Just do you. Stay in your own lane. And then in 2 years, I think we'll be, naming Bedard the captain. So
I would hope so, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's an appropriate timeline for him. Obviously, Tays got the captaincy his second year, but I don't think it matters, All that matters is that he goes out and has a better year than he did last year.
Do you think, I don't think I really asked you this either, Justin. Do you think a part of Connor Bedard is maybe a little bit upset about this? Like, I know he would never say it, but maybe in his heart, he's like, I wish it was me.
I'm sure a part of him thinks that way. He knows the Blackhawks history. He knows what Tays meant to this organization. And I know he wants to be that guy. He wants to be him. He is him. But I'm sure he's a bit upset, like, I had a chance this year to really certify myself as this team's next captain. I'm sure he's a little upset that Foligno's a stopgap guy for him. But overall, though, I don't think he really minds that. I think he's content with just playing the game, focusing on the hockey, not really worrying about that for at least another 2 years when it's his time. It's still his team. The letter, like I said in the last episode, the letter doesn't really change that, let's be honest. And, Foligno is the leader on this team. So I'm sure a part of him's upset about it. He's so competitive. I mean, this guy, he has that MJ mentality. He wants to be the best. Like, he wants this to be his team, and it is. So, but I'm sure a part of him's upset. But overall, I think he's content. Yeah.
Yeah, and also I think last year, Foligno was kind of like his dad. I feel like they spent a lot of time together. So I don't think he's going to be like, But hey, if he wants to use it as like a chip on his shoulder going in this year, I hope he does.
Honestly, I think it could be a positive from that standpoint. I totally agree with you. Like, I think he's going to use that as extra motivation. I think as long as Foligno's captain, like, he's going to try to certify himself as that next guy. And the fact that, Foligno has kind of been his mentor, his guardian this whole time, sets that up nicely. Like, nobody's probably closer in this team to Foligno than he is at this point. They've spent so much time together off the ice and on the ice. So I think that's going to be really beneficial for him. And by the time when he does take the C see, like, he's going to be so ready, man.
Yeah.
In fact, if there was any doubt, there's not going to be any, for sure.
Yeah, I don't want to overanalyze this. You know, you got a 36-year-old vet on the team, you know, who was, all intensive purposes, looked like the captain last year. You can't be upset about that, you know.
It's not that Bedard isn't ready. I think some people are saying that. It's just that Foligno is just too good of a leader to not give him the seat.
Yeah.
I really think if Foligno wasn't on this team, Bedard would be the captain. So it's not really a slight to Bedard, I see. It's just a testament to just how good of a leader Foligno was last season. It's like they couldn't not give it to him. So,
I agree. Yeah. It's not like you were going to give it to Seth Jones, you know.
No, or Connor Murphy.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I was just seeing if maybe we could get a clip going of this opening press conference as captain. I figured we could wrap the Foligno talk here with just talking about the presser. I didn't watch it, but I know Justin did. So
I watched it. Yeah, no, I was ready to run through a wall after watching this presser. I mean, I like that he's setting expectations in a good spot too. He's like, I'm not going to try to be Jonathan Toews. Like, that legacy's not going to be touched. He kind of admitted straight up, like, yeah, I'm kind of a stopgap guy. You know, it's about just bringing these young guys in, changing the culture here, because, you know, this has been kind of a losing culture, you know, which is to be expected from rebuilding team for the last couple of years. But the expectations are higher this season. I mean, they're not playoffs necessarily, but they are higher. You know, losing is not going to be tolerated anymore. And Foligno's definitely been very clear in saying that. Like, I like a good quote he said. He's like, we're going to have a standard that's expected to be met every single day. And if you don't, you're going to hear about it. It's just setting the standards right. You know, we're all business this year. You know, this isn't no more fooling around. It's time to get serious. So I like that. And, also, he tried to reach out to Jonathan Toews, but didn't get a response. So I don't know what that's all about. And Toews wasn't there either.
Wait, I mean, really?
Yeah, like Dennis Savard and Chris Chelios were at the presser as guests, but Toews wasn't.
I saw that.
Kind of weird. I mean, you think they would have sent an invite, but maybe Toews was like, "Yeah, no, fuck you guys. I don't know." But yeah,
he's
I found that
Burning
kind of interesting.
Man still. All right, let's
yeah,
run
he's
the
still in the
clip.
psychedelics.
I don't think we have the clip, unless Raven has something, unless he pulled something out. But
is it the one of him being named Blackhawks captain?
Well, are you looking on? I don't know. It was the press conference, like, from them, like, talking about, like, right? Yeah, they were naming him captain.
Yeah, that was the official.
Let's pull up this video and see if this is what you guys are talking about. Otherwise, it's 27 minutes long, boys.
Oh, well.
I think a lot of people have seen it already. I don't think we need to show
That'll
it.
slot right in there.
Yeah. Blackhawks
That'll just fill the
done.
rest of the show, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys say anything?
But transitioning, it is day 2 of training camp.
Yes.
I heard and I saw a bunch of clips yesterday that they started it off with like a 25-minute scrimmage, and they did it again today.
That's right.
I'm not sure what all the line combinations and who played together and who played against each other and who didn't. But it was awesome seeing clips of guys that we just got, you know, and seeing, of course, Bedard back out there. Look, I think that it's a good sign that they're right off rip, you know, getting into it like
all
that.
Business.
Because that's what we want, you know. We want, especially for these young guys on the team, we want them getting acclimated as soon as possible to the, like, NHL level and the speed, especially with guys like Nazer, who haven't played much in the show yet. I think it's important to start that way and set the tone at camp. And I think Luke Richardson kind of talked about that last year, about how he kind of wants to change the climate, I guess, a little bit at training camp and in practice. And I think that's a perfect start, and that's how you do it.
Yeah, no, expanding on that, it's just great to see all this extra competition this year. It's going to make everybody better. It's going to make the young guys better. Like Slaggert even said, like, he doesn't view that as like anything different. Like, he takes his extra motivation to try to make the team. You know, I think Nazar is probably the same way. Korchinski. It's just setting the right standards, expectations in place. Like you said, I love starting off with a scrimmage right away. Just all business, no drills, just right into it. And yeah, I could expand out a little bit of the line combos. I don't think you want to look into it too much. It's just the first couple days. I know everybody's going to overanalyze, you know, the line combos, but in a scrimmage, obviously, you're going to have things jumbled up. But I think Bedard was with Bertuzzi and Hall yesterday, which is kind of interesting. And I think the second line was Kurashev was actually the center, which is kind of fascinating. And then Teravainen and Reichel was actually in the top 6. So will Reichel actually be in the top 6 opening day? Who knows? I think it's probably just because of the scrimmages that things were jumbled up. So I know everybody's going to overanalyze that stuff, but really, everybody's going to get looks. You know, there's going to be different line. That's the whole point of training camp, is to get looks and different, all the combos. So I don't think it's really worth, you know, going too much into that and just overanalyzing the hell out of everything.
Well, hold on. Let's overanalyze the hell out of it right now. This is according to Charlie Meliotis from an hour ago. Seth Jones has been skating on a pairing with Alec Martinez to open
And that won't be the
camp.
case. Like, he's going to be with Vlasic. Yeah.
Well, Wyatt Kaiser is with Connor Murphy and Kevin Korchinski is with Louis Crevier. Alex Vlasic skated with TJ Brody on day one. And Brody can play the right. I said this the other day. Like, he is known for playing on his offhand. So maybe, if they're looking to spread what they have as far as they could across 3 pairings.
I also think Sorry. I was just going to say, I think like the interesting thing about these scrimmages, and while, the lines that they're using for the first couple days of camp is probably not going to be what they use in the season. This team now, like we talked about this on the first episode, the difference between this team and last year is, it's insane, but it feels like there's so many like NHL guys on this team now.
There's log jams.
And it's not like they're like elite. But the thing is you've got all these guys competing for the same spot. So while it's like training camp, it almost feels like you're kind of trying to fight to make the team, because you've got 9 guys that could fit into the bottom 6. You've probably got like 12 guys that could fit in the bottom 6.
Oh yeah, that defense is so much competition. I do hope that those aren't what the pairs end up being though, because they don't really make any sense to me. As much as I like Martinez, he should not be on the first pair with Seth Jones. That last Seth D pair last year was easily our best. So I imagine they're going to be together. I think just because you have all these groups, like you have like 3 or 4 different groups, it just get jumbled up in these scrimmages. So I don't think there's much to look into. The one thing I do look at is saying that could be something to look at is Kaiser with Murphy. I would think you would want to have Kevin with Murphy. The fact that Korchinski's on the 4th D pair of Crevier tells me maybe so far Kaiser may even have the, he might be ahead of him on the slot, the roster slot to make the team. So I hope not, though, because like I said in the first episode or second, I think Korchinski should be with the Hawks this year, but maybe he's not. Maybe he does start with Rockford. Maybe he's the 7th D, but it does look like, and Romeliota said that they want Kaiser on the team. Maybe he takes like that Vlasic trek where he had some of that time in Rockford, and now it's like it's just his turn to move on the team full time. He's a 2020 draft pick, Vlasic's 2019. So I'm not saying he's going to have an Alex Vlasic type season, but maybe he's a guy we're kind of underlooking right now. We're not looking at the way we should, and maybe he can surprise this year. Who knows? And then Vlasic with Brody, I think you got to have him in the top pair set, but I think that's just scrimmages, and I won't look too much into that.
That's the thing is you basically have 2 rosters here playing. So of course you're going to have, different line combos that you might not get during the regular season, but it's good problems to have, it's I think it's going to light a fire in a lot of these guys' asses, especially last year. Like you just talked about Korchinski, like he played like the entire year, and it almost felt like he was always going to play the whole year and they weren't going to take him out, and it's going to be good for him, I think, to have guys breathing down his neck saying like, if you're playing not well, you're going to go play in Rockford.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, nobody's safe this year. And I think, like those guys had their spots guaranteed last year. And I think that's not the right mindset to have in place. Like, oh, yeah, just show up and you'll be on the team. It's like, no, you got to be on top, on form all the time. And if you start struggling, it's like, we'll send you down. So that's a good point. I think that's going to help out guys like Korchinski and take that next step this year. And guys like Slaggert and Nazar and Reichel, they have a lot of motivation this year, so looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
So, do you want to actually hear the other lines though?
Yeah.
From yesterday, because they are kind of interesting actually. So we mentioned Bedard up with Bertuzzi and Hall, and I actually kind of like that more than you might think. Like I think Taylor Hall still has a lot left to give and could be poised for a monster season. If Connor Bedard is also poised for a monster season, Bertuzzi obviously is going to create a lot of space for both players. Second line was Philip Kurashev centering a line with Lucas Reichel and Teuvo Teravainen. Justin, you've been talking about unlocking Reichel a little bit. That I feel like is probably the best line for.
That's the best you could give him, I think, outside of Betsy. Obviously, what you don't want on the first line, but Hall on the first line is interesting. I think I'd probably rather have him the second, but in Teravainen on his slot. But I understand that too. I mean, like you said, he definitely has a lot of untapped,
He's won an MVP.
Guys. Yeah, I was just going to say, let's be honest. Like he's been plagued with injuries. There's a good chance that Taylor Hall is the best player on the Hawks this year if he stays healthy.
Second best.
He could have a better year than Bedard, realistically. If he goes back to what he did, I think that's not a crazy. We're talking about an MVP winner here.
Yeah, but that was 6 years ago. Don't be wrong. I think Hall's still a good player, but better than Bedard. I don't know about that. I don't think so.
I wouldn't be overly shocked.
I don't think so.
We were just going over like Lucas Raymond and Mort Sider's sophomore year slumps. Those happen all the time. Sophomore year slumps are real.
Sophomore slumps don't apply to generational talents like McDavid, Crosby, Bedard. I don't know about that one.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see, man.
Yeah, I think they could just play off each other though. The next line is Jason Dickinson with Nick Foligno and Ilya Mikheyev. That's a, you know.
I actually like that line. I like keeping Foligno and Dickinson together. That was a great checking line, good like defensive line last year. I like keeping them together. And yeah, Ilya Mikheyev. Yeah, we'll see what
it's
he
kind of the
brings to this team,
Stonehands line a little bit.
Yeah,
It's
no,
kind of the-
I know, you're not putting
that line
you're
is
not putting
moving
that
at
line
3
out
miles an
there.
hour.
Just missing the net by 10 feet every shot.
But that was kind of what I proposed, like making a line with Dickinson that's better defensively and roll them out against other teams' top lines throughout the year. I think that could be a good technique used by Richardson, just to try to, give Bedard better looks offensively and take away some of that defensive pressure. But also at some point you got to, he's going to be the number one center for the next decade and a half, 2 decades. He's going to have to learn to play against the best in the world. So
yeah, that's a thing. I agree with that. I mean, Dickinson's one of the more underrated defensive forwards in this league. So I think having him still in that second or third center slot, wherever he ends up being, and yeah, he could start them off and then get Bedsy off those top lines. But yeah, I mean, it's almost a good thing, I think, for Bedard to struggle like defensively. I know some people look at that too much last year, but I think he learned a lot from that. I think he takes pride in like improving in all aspects of the game. I think his two-way game will get better as the team gets better around him. That tends to be how it works. So I'm not really worried about that. I think he'll grow. I'm not saying I don't think he's going to be a Tays-like player. I think he's not really. He could be a good two-way player down the road, but I don't think that's really his game. I think it's going to be more like Kane, but as a center. So, but we'll see.
So okay, so I wanted to ask if you guys. We'll get to because I wanted to ask you guys about the 32 Thoughts clip. If you guys heard the interview that they did with Connor Bedard.
I heard a little bit of it.
Yeah, where they did they asked him about his stick flex, but I wanted to just read out the rest of these lines so we can move on. The 4th, 5th, and 6th lines.
That one made no sense. The Athanasiou one,
yeah, it's Athanasiou centering a line with Patrick Maroon and Craig Smith.
Woof.
Yeah.
I thought they were awesome.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
Athanasiou should not be on the 4th line. He should be playing like second or third with Reichel. So I don't know what's up with that. I think I won't look too much into that.
No, but I did see Patrick Maroon buzzing around the ice in training camp today. But
and also what you got to think of is this is 2 teams. They're playing.
Yeah, but even
other.
still, like I know you guys aren't saying to not put a lot into it, but at least the first day of training camp too. Especially once I read the last 2 lines, but it is the first opportunity you have everybody together, right? So it's like, oh, this is what Luke Richardson has been thinking about all summer, probably. You know what I mean? He's like, oh, I've been thinking about these line combos all summer long, every day.
So you think we're not taking it seriously enough?
Yeah, maybe, okay. Like maybe,
well, I mean,
it lends a little bit to what he's thinking.
My point is,
you're about to get into the 6th line.
Well, no,
right
I mean
now.
it's Ryan Donato, Joey Anderson, and Landon Slaggert. Okay, and then you have Colton Dock, Frank Nazar, and Nick Lourdes. So that last line,
prospects line,
yeah, that's the prospects line, which means we've been talking about. Oh, is Frank Nazar going to make the team potentially?
That suggests he might not. It might be first line Rockford.
Yeah, heck yeah.
But also, you're not going to put one of these new signings that you just got, like an 8-year, 9-year, 10-year vet with a couple of prospects.
Who? The other ones? Oh, well, yeah. Well, I mean, you could. A lot of teams do that. Like they'll mix it up more than, what if Nick Lourdes was playing with Connor Bedard right now or something like that? Merrick Van Acker's hurt, but
Yeah, I hope Nazar makes the team though. I mean, I know some people were on him at Rockford, but I don't know. I think that kid's NHL ready, and I don't know what punting around in Rockford's going to do, for him. But I mean, it could be a positive. It could grow his confidence. But I think speaking of the Wolves, I think he's ready. I hope he's with the Hawks. But if not, I think there's really not a right or wrong answer. I think it'll work out.
I also think my take of Ryan Donato being waived before the start of the season isn't that out there with him currently on what is like the 5th line.
For me, it's like if I see him starting, like it just feels like a waste of a position because it's like I would rather see a prospect playing any minutes in the NHL.
That's how I feel with Maroon and Smith too. Like I feel like they should just be there like as extras, like in case there's like injuries. Like you still play them occasionally, but not every night. I don't want to see Pat Maroon in this lineup every night. I'd rather Landon Slaggert's on his team because he actually has a future here. You know, so I understand having those guys in case of injuries like last year and having those presences in the room, but I don't think they should be necessarily taking the mantle of the vets just because they're vets. You know,
I think the jury on Landon Slaggert's still out for me. I don't know how.
You're not sold on him, or
not really. And I know like a lot of people that follow the Hawks are like really high on him, but when I see him, I just think of like a fourth line plug. And I know he's like really young into his career, but
you kind of need those guys though. Like you need those fourth line energy guys. Like I don't think he's gonna be putting up crazy totals in the NHL, but you kind of need this as heart and soul, like hard workers, like Sam Lafferty types. Like that's kind of what I see him being.
For sure, but I feel like it's kind of hard for a guy like that to get in on a team like this when you've got so many of those guys. You know what I'm saying?
Fair,
like we've got. This team has become a team of third and fourth line plugs, if we're being honest. And can I transition us into something that I think is really important that we haven't discussed yet on the show?
Yeah.
And something I really want to ask you, Justin, is what do we want from this Blackhawks team this year? What are we rooting for? Because last year, I was pretty much rooting against them. I wanted them to be as bad as possible, and then I wanted to see Bedard and Kurashev score. That was the lens that I watched every single game through. What lens are you going to be watching games through this year?
Well, I'm sick of tanking. I mean, I'm sick of cheering for this team to lose. I want this team to do well, but it's tough because I do feel like we are missing that one last Elite Four prospect. But here's the thing: we have so much draft capital. Even if we do overperform, do you really think Kyle's not going to try to trade up? I mean, the top 10 in this draft is loaded with forwards. So even if we do overperform by a bit, win a few more games, it's not the end of the world. People are overreacting with that. I think this team on paper is honestly better than people are giving credit for. And I want to see that. I want to see them progress. I think Davidson said that. Like, he does not want to be a lottery team again this year. He wants to see progression, not necessarily playoffs. I don't think this team's making the playoffs, but I do want to see. I'm going to be cheering for this team. I'm not going to be cheering for them to lose. I'm cheering for wins, cheering for progression. See the young guys get better, and yeah, I mean that's kind of my philosophy this year. I mean, I think you got to think that you got to raise the standards. You got to have that mentality of getting better. That's what Foligno said. Like you got to raise the standards, raise the bar. So that's kind of what I'm thinking going.
So you want them to be better. You want them to be good, but not playoff.
Better, but not too much better, I guess. So I do think we still need that high draft pick.
I don't know if I can deal with that. I feel like
there's a loaded draft at the top.
Yes. Like, what if you're guaranteed, like a top 5 pick this year could be massive?
No, I agree with that. I'm saying, I think even if we are better, though, I'm not saying we'll be way better. I'm saying we'll be like a couple spots better. And even if we do improve by like 15, 20 points, we might still be like in the same spot in the standings, maybe like 1 or 2 positions higher. And the lottery system is there. I mean, we could still get a better pick anyway. So nothing's guaranteed.
True.
So I think getting a few extra wins, a few extra points is not going to hurt us. Like I don't see you got to make progression. You can't just stay flat, And so I
hear what you're saying. It's just like, and I think I agree with you. I just wanted to hear you say it. Just the problem with that for me is then watching this team this year might be significantly more depressing than it was last year. Which, hear me out, I know that the team is going to be better than last year, and they were horrible last year. But last year you had that silver lining of like, yeah, they looked horrible. Bedard didn't really do anything tonight. He got beat up. They lost by 3 goals. At the end of the day, after that game, you'd be like, well, at least we're going to get a top 5 pick. At least we might win the lottery.
And I think, that could still happen. Like, that's what I'm saying. I think you can have it both ways. Like, I think you can expect that improvement, that 15, 60, 70 point gain, and still be in play for a top 5 pick. Like, I really think that. Like, that's how far below everybody else we were last year. It was us, the Sharks, the Ducks, and like there's a gap. You know what I mean? And teams are only getting better. So even if we are better, we still could be in play for that. I really think you could have it both ways. Yeah.
I think I'm gonna root against them again this year.
I can't go another year like that.
I would like to, for Chicago Hockey Radio's sake, I would like them to be a lot better than expected, and then just miss out on the playoffs to drive up as much hype in the market as possible.
Yeah, I don't know about that though, because like then we're kind of putting ourselves.
Wait, no, I think
we still need that high draft.
I'm talking business here, Justin.
I think you just converted me.
I'm talking business here, Justin. I want them to miss the playoffs by like a point.
I said
so that everybody's like,
And then here's what happens. Here's what happens. Like, yeah.
I'm with you. I said last year that this next season, not this one, 25-26, we'd make the playoffs. I think that following that timeline, I think that us being just outside of a wild card spot would be beautiful. And I think that would prove everyone wrong. Because you got to think about it. If we're just, one spot outside of a wild card spot this season, that means Bedard had, 90 points?
100 maybe.
90, 100 points.
Maybe?
I think he could put up 100 points this year. I don't think that's out of question.
That would be
never mind.
insane.
I'm cheering for this team again. I'm back in.
Tassos convinced you, but not me. I see how it is.
Because I needed that. I can't just have, we'll be a little bit better, but not that good. No, I want to be good.
I'm just being realistic though. Like I don't know. Like I'm not saying we can't be that good, but I don't know if that's in the cards this year.
You have
I think
a lot
next
of teams
year,
to beat
next year
out.
is the year 25-26. Like I agree with you. I think that's the year where it's like,
but not really
enough
good
of this.
ones.
Yeah.
St. Louis, Utah.
Utah is a big one that like you got to be able to be better than at some point.
I think there's so many variables though with that team though that it's a young team and they're changing locations. That could be that could not work well for them. Like what if all these players don't like where they're living? They don't like their neighborhoods.
They all love it. It seems like they all love it.
I think the fresh location. I think that actually helps them.
I think not being in Arizona.
No distractions.
No. I understand that's what.
Not playing at a college arena. You have actually.
Look, that's like the normal brain would think that. But as I've learned this from sports betting more than anything, is what the normal layman person thinks is going to happen. Just like is often not how it goes. Like I don't think that that the standings in the Central is going to be what everyone I don't think it's going to be Hawks, St. Louis, Utah, Minnesota, like what most people think.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a few teams.
Never is.
Yeah, and it never goes that way.
I do think the Hawks.
So why can't the Hawks make the playoffs this year?
Every single prediction I see has the Hawks in 8th, and I don't think that's happening. I think they could finish 6th or 7th.
Exactly.
I do not see playoffs, but I
it's
see
too obvious.
Yeah.
It's too obvious, and you see it all the time in the NFL too. Is you got this team's obviously the best in this division, and then this team's a little bit far behind, and then this team's like on the cusp of the playoffs, and this team's not anywhere close, and then it never pans out that way. Someone gets injured, somebody breaks out. All
these hockey NHL media guys. Sorry, let me interrupt.
No.
Like they always regurgitate the same opinions. Like we're not going to give you that shit here. Like we're going to tell you exactly how we feel, and have these different opinions and debates. I think that's what people want to see.
I think the Western Conference. I don't know. I don't think they'll finish last in the division either. But I also think, I think the bottom of the Western Conference is a lot worse this year than the bottom of the Eastern Conference. I think Calgary is going to be really bad this year. I think San Jose is not going to be good. I think the Anaheim Ducks are not going to be good. I think St. Louis has potential to totally bottom out. No Torrey Krug the whole year. Jordan Binnington, maybe Joel Hofer takes more of the reign. I just think they're going to struggle a lot. Minnesota's, has a lot of off nights and looks like, it's going to be the Marc-Andre Fleury retirement tour. I don't know, man.
I see what you're saying, but I think in the East, what you're going to see standings-wise is that teams that were in like the 4 through 6 slot this past year are going to be at the bottom. And so I think like
Columbus is going to really struggle this year.
Columbus is going to really struggle. I think that's the only one that you can look at and be like, yeah, they're not really going to move at all. But like I said on that first episode, I think Pittsburgh and Washington and Philly are going to be horrible.
There's just so much mid. There's so much mid in that conference.
It's so bad. And we got to like Crosby's going to be the best player on that Penguins team, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, is he going to go point per game again, do you think? Without Gensel the whole year?
Yeah.
I don't. I think that they might be horrible.
I think Evgeny Malkin's going to have a better season.
Why, though?
I've heard some things. I've heard some things.
I don't know. I think that guy's a legend, but getting pretty old.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I think that team, especially without Gensel, I think they're going to be a lot worse. I think they're going to be 7th or 8th.
Yeah. On that, any thoughts? Blackhawks don't play preseason game until they play the Red Wings
25th
on Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, yeah.
Next Wednesday, but the preseason starts tomorrow, so the Hawks have to be like one of the last teams to start up their preseason schedule.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. It's the same way last year. Yeah.
Why are the Hawks starting so late, or why are other teams starting
They're
tomorrow?
just saving the best for last, right? That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, this might be a really stupid question to say on a hockey show, but did everybody's training camp start 2 days ago?
Yeah. Everybody went in on Wednesday for testing, and
so some of these teams that are playing early is just like it's a real crapshoot.
You got like Pittsburgh, Buffalo tomorrow. You got
I didn't even realize the preseason start tomorrow. What the hell?
Dallas, St. Louis. You got the Jets and the Wild. Yeah, you got
the interesting thing about that though is that like the Hawks have this like week and a half, or I guess it'll be like 1 week of training camp without
extra time preparation.
Yeah, it's extra preparation, but then it also is like you might see like actual like the actual roster earlier than we'd expect, because they
already have a week to figure it out.
I think they'll have to make cuts later though, considering they'll be playing all these preseason games at the end of the schedule.
Yeah, that's normally how it works. It's only like the last couple of games where it's like, okay, most of the cuts have happened, then it's the full roster, man.
Do you think any of the top guys will play next week?
I think the first preseason game you normally see quite a few of the top guys, and that's the second where it's like, okay, that's where most of the prospects are playing. Yeah. And then, it just kind of works its way out of it as it goes along.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back with the NHL Hour. Awesome. Thanks for joining us on Chicago Hockey Radio. We'll be right back. All right, we're back for NHL Hour of Chicago Hockey Radio. Justin Lynch, Grasemann in studio. Might add, first time for Chicago Hockey Radio. NHL Hour, let's just get right into it. We talked a lot, I've been bringing up, like I said on my show, a lot of the unsigned RFAs that weren't at camp. That was kind of my storyline that I was hanging on to a lot. And then they all signed for the most part. Now you got only 3 left. Cole Perfetti, Jeremy Swayman, and Nikita Alexandrov in St. Louis is the other one, who is in camp on a PTO, I might add. But yeah, Raymond and Seider both signed. We already kind of broke down the Raymond one a little bit, but Mo Seider, 7 years, 8.55. That's, who wants to take the lead on it?
Well, good for the Wings to finally get those signings done, eh? But yeah, I'm a little surprised Seider's making more than Raymond, but the fact that's a 7-year deal versus 8, I suppose that makes a lot of sense. But no, good for the Wings to get that done. Maybe it's a little steep.
Right shot D, man. Why are you surprised?
No, I'm just, I don't know. I just thought Raymond had a better season last year. But no, I mean, in terms of like the positional value he has, yeah. I mean, the fact he's making more makes sense. But I think down the road, like that's going to be a good contract. Maybe right now, a bit of a good season, not great last year, but I think he'll just get better. Just like Raymond had an insane year last year. They'll just keep getting better throughout that contract. So I think they'll both age well. So yeah.
My issue though with the Mo Seider thing is I understand the positional value, but have you seen the same progression in his game that you've seen in Raymond's?
It's been a bit up and down. Like Raymond had a good rookie year.
Oh, I don't question.
Had a sophomore slump.
I don't question the potential of Moritz Seider. Sorry to cut you off, Justin. I don't question the potential of Moritz Seider at all.
Yeah.
You think he has a higher ceiling than Raymond?
The thing is, he's so important to that blue line. I mean, he is the big piece there. So obviously they're going to invest a lot in him. Yeah.
Pretty similar ceilings.
Okay. Yeah, we've seen defensemen get overpaid long term.
Seth Jones.
To name one. Not that I think that that's going to happen, but him making more than Raymond, he was originally, because they wanted to keep both of their contracts under the Larkin contract, which I think is great business, honestly.
And they did it.
And to get both of their pieces locked up, like, before I'm going to like speculate about anything, it was a great move for them. They got their cornerstone pieces locked up for long term at a decent price. In 5 years, we could look back at this and be like, holy shit, these guys are making only
and those are the 2 big
for the
pieces
next
there.
2-3 years. It could be awesome. I think just for me, the only concern is how good will Mo Seider end up being. He could be, a true number 1, like legit top end defenseman in the NHL. But if he kind of stays around this level that he's at, I think that's the only concern.
I think his ceiling is like his number one defenseman. I think his floor is like a solid number two guy. So either way, he's a top pair defenseman. So I think that's kind of what they see with that contract.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel any sort of way about the Dawson Mercer extension in New Jersey?
I mean, I think it's, I think that team is solid in general. $4 million, 3 years, right? Is that what that contract was?
$4 million. Yeah.
I think it's pretty solid. I think that's going to be a guy that's going to be in your middle six and for the future. So yeah, I don't think 4 is a super high number. So I think it's a solid signing. Obviously, it's less to talk about than Detroit. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a pretty big part of that core there. I mean, yeah, more of a middle six guy, like you said, but a bit of a down year last year, but he had a really solid first couple years and really good defensive forward, granted PK. So definitely a guy you want to have, there for the long haul. But this is more of a bridge deal. See what you got for these next few years and get the bag in a few years' time. So yeah.
Do you guys think Cole Perfetti now like goes to the Winnipeg Jets and says, "Hey, that's what I want at least 3x4"?
I feel like they're kind of different players.
Yeah,
so.
I also
don't think you compare them.
Yeah, and also I don't know if you can kind of like bargain it the same way that Mercer was able to, but I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, no.
Tassos?
Well, I agree they're different players, but I think Perfetti, if he plays in the Jets top 6, I don't know if you guys like really worry about the Winnipeg Jets. A lot of people, think they, are going to make the playoffs pretty easily because they have Connor Hellebuck. And, I've read a few things and heard a few things that think the Jets are poised for a pretty big step back. But I think if you have Perfetti signed and he scores, 70 points for you, 60, 70 points for you, you're looking at a probably much better Jets team than you maybe thought, know?
Yeah.
I think Perfetti probably has a higher ceiling than Dawson Mercer does.
Oh, yeah. I think Mercer's maybe more of a sure thing, but I agree with you. I think Perfetti's got that potential. And if he breaks out this season, like that would kind of quell a lot of those fears with Winnipeg, taking a step back. So I think you got to give him the opportunity, right?
If I were him, I would ask for a shorter term deal, a shorter term bridge deal. If you're betting on yourself, I'd say give me 2 years.
Yeah.
I know guys like guaranteed money, but if you're betting on yourself and you think you can score 60, 70 points, then take 2 years and then start talking big numbers after that's up.
So you think Perfetti's asking for more than Dawson Mercer? Is that where we landed with both of you here? Or no?
I'd say around the same, maybe less to start. But I mean, I feel we will be making more, but maybe just like a short bridge deal, even less than the 3 years.
Yeah, I think
get the bag.
Maybe like a year less on the term.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. When do you guys think Swayman's going to get signed?
I don't know. I've been seeing so much drama about that.
Yeah. What's the deal there? They gotta get that figured out, man.
Don Sweeney's not happy.
Yeah.
With Spittin' Chicklets in particular.
Yeah, because I think it's extra noise, and I think he does want to sign him. And then you're hearing all this stuff from the media that's like, oh, he's not returning calls. Is this going to happen? Are they going to trade Swayman?
Like, don't seem like they're close on term too.
I was just on Twitter, and I was seeing a lot of stuff like, oh, they might trade him. They might lose him and Omar.
That would be crazy.
That would be such a catastrophic fumble if you get rid of Allmark and then don't make some sort of agreement with Swayman, because then it's like you might as well just start writing the obituary for the Boston Bruins, because I'm already not high on that team. I already think they're ass because I don't think they have any depth whatsoever. But having a top 5 tender in the world helps. So they're gonna get it done. But I understand that Swayman's asking for a bag and a half.
I think the goaltending is what's held them together, right? I mean, without that, they're totally fucked. That and the coaching. But yeah, they gotta get that figured out, which they will.
I think they will. But I don't know if they're gonna. What was he asking for? Was he asking for like 10-5? Did you hear like numbers that Swayman was?
No,
did they offer him like 6 or something? Like not even close. Like just something totally lowballed.
I have no idea what they offered or what they wanted. The Swayman camp. I have no idea.
I heard they wanted like 10, which is a lot to give.
Which they're not even close then. Not even close.
But that might not be true. I think that's just like some stuff I heard.
But maybe you started at 10.
Say, looking at what I see, 10 is kind of the number that it looks like that they were offered.
That's a little
Wait,
much.
they were offered?
Swayman wants 10. Bruins aren't willing to pay him more than 8.
Yeah,
that makes more sense.
More than 8.
I think
is the number.
I don't know,
Okay.
somewhere in the 8 range, I think would make more sense. I mean, I know he's a good young goaltender, but he's still kind of a little unproven. So I mean, ask for 10, like in the same range of Bobrovsky's a little ridiculous. But
Give him the
I think
Moritz
8 or
Seider
9,
contract.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't think he wants it. I think in his
different
mind,
situation.
though, he just proved it for you this postseason.
Yeah.
That's what I guarantee you. That's what his agent's saying. You know, and I think he has the same agent as William Nylander. So I mean, that guy knows how to get a bag.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the reasons he played so well too was just that connection they had with Olmark, that great 1A, 1B tandem. So like, does he still play the same way without him, like with extra workload? Maybe that helps him. Maybe he just keeps getting better from that. But or maybe losing that, tandem kind of hurts him a bit. Who
I think
knows?
he'll be fine. I think the Bruins won't.
That's fair. Yeah.
But that's just kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I saw that Radko Gudas was named the captain of the Anaheim
Yeah,
Ducks.
they're copying us over there. They could have given it to a young guy, but it's like, nah, we'll give him to the veteran who's been here for 1 year. I mean, in the short term, yeah, similar to us, it makes sense. Maybe not quite on the same level as ours with Foligno because he's been established as a captain before. But yeah, I mean, it's a little, I'd say that one's a little more peculiar, but like I understand it. He was great for them last year in that defense. So, I mean, I guess it makes sense now.
Yeah. What are you have any opinions on that?
No, not really.
Yeah. It's kind of boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That team kind of sucks.
What team?
The Anaheim Ducks.
I love how
no.
all NHL media is like expecting the Ducks to take a leap this year, that they don't expect us to take a leap. I look at both of our rosters on paper,
Yeah.
and I think we're better. I think we're better than them.
100%.
No bias. I think we're better.
No,
So I
but
understand
actually,
what-
it's like unproven talent. But I just feel like we have more NHL
Established players. Yes.
players. And
Yes,
so it's
yes.
like,
I think the Hawks should be better, but
yeah. Well, it's-
Yeah, and that division sucks too, man. Like, I mean, the Ducks, Sharks, and Flames
well,
battle of
that
ass down
could
there.
mean some like easy points and like
That's true,
you know.
and like we're definitely in a hard division. Central's way better. Not even
Yeah.
close.
And also
Yeah.
back to that division, I think LA. I've been seeing. I saw Anze Kopitar said they're not going to play like the 1-3-1 trap. I said it the other day. I think that team's going to be ass.
Yeah.
Especially if they're not. So what you're saying? You're not going to play that boring style of hockey, which is, by the way, really the reason why they got to the playoffs in the first place.
It works.
You-
That man, the Isles.
Yeah, you're saying you're not going to do that now? What are they just going to play some like super fast offensive hockey that's like going to excite LA and they're going to make the playoffs? Like, I don't think so.
I like that we're just continuing to piss off the foreign blue guys. Just keep saying the Kings suck. Like, just keep throwing shade
Send
over
those
there.
guys this
We're gonna have a
clip.
great rivalry here in this network.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Byfield is a monster though.
I know you love Quentin Byfield, but dude, I don't know. It's like that's one guy, Yeah. Anze Kopitar's not getting any younger.
He's still really good.
Yeah.
That's a good first line. Byfield, Kopitar, and Alex Laferriere is a good first line.
Yeah, it's a good first line.
And then they have Phil Deneau, who's like a really good shutdown guy. And, Doughty's still a top, defenseman in the league? 15?
No, I don't think so. I think if
No?
we took the time right now.
Top 30, top 25, maybe.
No way.
Yeah, come
Not
on.
top 15. I don't know
let's
about
just-
that.
No way.
I want to look up some numbers.
If you got, come on, fellas.
Keep going.
I mean, I'm not going to rank defensemen right here, but I think we all know who the top group is, like the Makar, Fox, Hughes, kind of Miro Heiskanen, those kinds of guys.
Rasmus Dahlin.
Rasmus
Don't be wrong,
Dahlin.
Drew
I mean,
Doughty's
we
still
just named
great.
what, 7 guys?
That was 6.
Okay. Charlie
Top
McAvoy.
20.
Like,
We'll put him 15 to 20. I think that's a fair compromise.
Yeah, 15 to 20, I think. Drew Doughty
Yeah,
is still
fair cop.
really
Roman
effective.
Yossi, Victor
Roman
Hedman,
Yossi,
Adam Fox.
yeah.
Come on.
I said
we
Fox.
Just
I said
named-
Fox.
We could add this to the defenseman discussion another time. Sure. as a
No,
10
I know.
place.
I think Doughty still has a lot to give. I worry, Mikey Anderson is really good. I think they're banking on Brant Clark having a big season and Jordan Spence having a big season. And
He was 19th last year in points, which I understand that points isn't everything, but also I'm sure there's guys below him with less points that you'd say, like Charlie McAvoy is had less points than Drew Doughty, but would you rather Drew Doughty over Charlie McAvoy?
Not right now. No.
Not at all.
Jacob Slavin, No, okay, I hear you. No, I think a lot. The goaltending. You could have gone out and gotten Jacob Markstrom for yourself and maybe set yourself up a little better. I didn't mean this to turn into Kings talk a little bit, but
yeah, let the Kings people talk about that. Let's.
Yeah,
that's their job.
Oh, we were talking about the Ducks, though. You asked me if
too.
I had an opinion on the Ducks. I mean, I think what Radko Gudas being captain means is just that there's no one else on the team, obviously, that's ready. Like, you're probably, going to trade Cam Fowler if you can move an $8 million contract right now. John Gibson has been, his name's been out there for years, right? And you're not going to give it to like Trevor Zegras or Cutter Gauthier or, Pavel Minchikov or Leo Carlson. Leo Carlson could be the captain of the Anaheim Ducks one day, 100%.
Yeah, I think that's probably the guy. Well, honestly, I don't know. I feel like if Zegras returns to the player he was like a year ago, I think they might give it to him.
I just don't think he's a captain material. I'd probably give it to like someone like McTavish or something like that.
Oh, Mason McTavish, too.
McTavish.
I forgot him. Mason McTavish is like the guy. Yeah. You're so right. Yeah,
that's right.
They could be pretty good, honestly. I don't know. Maybe we're not giving them enough credit.
Yeah, they do have. I mean, they have a lot of potential. That's for sure. I mean, a lot of young potential, like the Sharks do, but they're further along. So they could surprise.
They have potential, but is that gonna like all unfold this year?
I don't know.
They're ways away. I think. Yeah, a year or two away.
I don't know. We'll revisit this Anaheim Ducks conversation.
Yeah, I think they're on fraud watch.
That's a team that, I mean, like, obviously, like, how do I explain it? There's teams in hockey that are popular no matter what, and then there are teams in hockey that
are popular if they're good.
Yeah.
That's it.
And the Anaheim Ducks are like so cool when they're good. Like, that's a cool brand. That's a cool.
Yeah, I like that they brought back the Mighty Ducks logo. It's insane aura.
The jerseys are really cool. Like, I like the orange a lot.
But when they're not good, away games there look like second home games. Like they don't have anybody in that building when they're bad.
Yeah.
And bandwagon Californians.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. It's crazy that California has 3 teams.
Yeah.
And Quebec City has nothing.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that? Do you want to talk
a little bit about the expansion?
We talked about it. I asked you about it on Good Morning Hockey, but so NHL owners are getting together to talk about maybe expanding to Atlanta, expanding to Houston.
Return of the Thrashers. Let's do it. But yeah, Houston, I mean, they've been in talks forever. And, that's the biggest market that's untapped at the moment in terms of hockey teams. So they could have a great, rivalry with Dallas. So as I said in the Good Morning show. So I like to see them. I mean, Atlanta, third time's a charm, maybe. Who knows with that? But it is kind of a slight to Quebec, it does seem like. But, the Canadian dollar is kind of useless. So, yeah.
It's not that far off the American one. I mean, it is.
Okay.
It used to be. They used to be pretty even, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And then it took a big dip, and now it's like closer than it was.
The value of currency.
Yeah.
It's just an awesome thing to talk about right now. But also the taxes in Canada are so much higher, especially in like Toronto and Vancouver. Like, it's so much harder. It really is. Like, something should be said. It's harder to get guys.
Players want to play in the
I
US.
imagine.
Yeah,
because
you're
losing so much of that money in taxes, and not to mention property values and stuff is higher in Canada too.
Yeah, you
can make it back though, like with endorsements and stuff playing in a Canadian market.
Well, yeah, but imagine. I don't know.
Like Austin Matthews.
Plus the media is so much
Austin
more,
Matthews, maybe maybe for your superstars, maybe your top end talent. But think about middle six guys. How much money are you making in?
Well, then you turn into
You're still in that highest tax bracket, but you're not. I don't know. I think that the way that the NHL has done expansion in the past few years has looked a lot different than kind of in the past. So, like, I know that hasn't it failed in Atlanta twice now, or is it
has?
Yeah,
the Flames and the Thrashers. Yeah.
Look, I think that the way they've done the expansion draft now, though, I think it's I think it gives new franchises a lot more potential. And Atlanta's such a big city, and the Atlanta MLS teams had so much success and popularity. I think it could work in Atlanta. I understand that you're
with
doing
the right
the
ownership.
same thing.
Yeah, the right management.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think you could give Texas another team too. I'm all about expansion just because I want the game to grow by any means necessary. I mean, we've talked about this a million times. Like that's like one of the most important things to us. So I think that expansion teams grows the game in the States, in North America in general. But it does, I think, dilute the talent level a little bit.
Yeah.
And it fucks up the playoff system. Right now it's perfect. Half teams make it 16 and 16 out. It would screw with that. But no, I mean, in terms of new markets, new fans, new opportunities, it's great. Yeah.
Last thing here before we wrap, because I know Justin's got to go.
Yeah.
And if you have to dip, if you have to leave the Zoom call, I'm sure we can make it work. But thoughts on maybe like expanding the playoffs then?
Fuck no play-in system. I do not want that. The regular season determines what teams make the playoffs. No NBA system or wild card system where it's like, one game determines it. What the fuck is the point of a regular season if you're going to do that? So
I agree.
No, 16 team. Thank you. Yeah, 16 teams is just in 16 out. Half and half is perfect.
The regular season already means less. That I'm a big European soccer fan. I'm a big NFL fan. The regular season already means less, significantly less than both of those sports. I think that if you implement a playing game where more teams get in, it's like you can kind of just mail in the entire regular season, realistically, as long as you win those games. Just make that 2020
bubble thing every season.
I think the Stanley Cup playoffs is perfect.
Yeah. There's nothing needs to be changed. The playoffs, I
think you need to fix the
best
seeding.
Playoffs in sports. Don't change a thing.
I agree. I think they
Maybe
should
conferences, you think?
I think they should go back to the 1 and 8
The 1
seeding.
Yeah. Then that way you have different matchups. It's not the same teams every year, like Oilers Kings for the fourth year in a row.
Yeah, and also the current match, it kind of like coming in second really doesn't mean anything. It's almost like not beneficial.
Big first or last, baby.
Yeah.
All right. You ready to wrap?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
All right. That'll do it for the NHL hour of Chicago Hockey Radio. Join us on Monday. We will see you all then.
Yeah. Take care.
All right. Adios. See ya.
Peace out, Justin.
Yep. See ya.